Okay, guys, welcome to challenge number 12. Now, guys, I want to tell you about challenge number 12. This is going to be by far the single biggest challenge of this entire series. And this is the challenge that is going to separate the men from the boys. And ladies, you're included. If you can get through this challenge, then you're the man. Really, I respect you. And when I say you're the man, ladies, and young ladies, I'm including you. When I say guys, I mean everybody, all right? I mean everybody. But if you can get through this challenge, then it is going to make, I'll guarantee you, I can promise you this, it is going to make a huge, massive difference in your life, for perhaps even for the very rest of your life. Maybe you're going to be looking back at this challenge one day and you're going to say it was that challenge, that specific challenge that changed my life. Now, guys, it's got the potential to do that. Now, I'm going to tell you this now about the challenge, but before I do that, I need to mention something. When God created our bodies, obviously, if you look at our bodies, we can see muscle and we can see flesh and we can see skin and we can see, we know we're made out of skeletons, not made out of skeletons. we have a skeleton, okay, we have a blood circulatory system. But the thing that I want to talk about is the chemical side of stuff, all right? The chemical side of our bodies. And the chemical side are in the form of hormones, all right? Now, the one hormone we know, I think it's a hormone. If you're a doctor or you've got a dad that's a doctor, just ask him if I'm right about this. But the one hormone I want to talk about is adrenaline, all right? Adrenaline. Now, have you ever heard the term adrenaline junkies? Now, adrenaline is what happens when you get into, it can happen in anything, whether if you're in a motor car accident, okay? Your adrenaline, it gets pumped because it makes you more alert to what's going on, all right? I'm talking about if you've survived a motor car accident. If you're motorcycling, if you're racing. Now, I've done a lot of, in my younger days, I did a lot of things that were really enjoyable. I did a lot of parachuting. I parachuted at night. I parachuted in water. I jumped into trees. Did all kind of crazy stuff, but that was all military stuff. Because I was a military paratrooper. So, and I remember every time we got into that plane, my heart would start thumping. Even when we're traveling down, we get into the plane and we hook up, or the plane travels down the runway and we take off and we eventually stand up and we hook up because we jump static line. My heart will be beating like crazy and my adrenaline is just like at an all-time high. So it's like fear and anticipation at the same time. And the guy opens the door and the door's open and the winds come rushing into the plane, and that noise, man, that screaming noise. Trust me, it's not like Hollywood movies where you can see the guy next to you and he just talks to the guy next to him as if he's in a quiet room. No, you can't hear each other. You've got to shout and scream to be heard above those I think they call them T. Allison engines. That was in the Hercules aircraft we jumped out of. We jumped out of C-130s, C-160s, and we jumped out of Dakotas, believe it or not. Dakotas came out of the Second World War. They were the same planes, the exact same planes that took part in the Normandy, the Second World War invasion. Man, it makes me feel old. But we used those same aircraft that our country bought, and we bailed out of them. We jumped out of them, and also static line. But I'm getting a bit carried away now because I get carried away when I talk about stuff like that, the good old days. Okay, when I say good old days, I mean about the adventures and stuff we did. And then, when we went operational, and I was operational for a period of 13 years. That's a very long time. So every year I would go away and I'll do operations for 3 months where we will jump wherever we needed to jump in whatever country or whatever we did, all right? And we do operations. And even during an operation, guys, there's nothing like, let me tell you now, there's nothing like being in an operation facing an enemy that is hell-bent on killing you. And you come under fire. And your training kicks in, the trust that you have in your team, your squad. your heart is going. So the adrenaline is just absolutely pumping. I remember, I don't want to go into too many details, but I remember just reacting in situations during contacts that I wouldn't react like that under normal circumstances. But the adrenaline just made me react in very quick, sum up, literally within, like, I would say even hundredths of a second, would make me make decisions that would literally save my life. But anyways, enough of that. But that's one hormone, adrenaline. Then we got testosterone, all right? You guys know what testosterone is about, right? Okay. For both men and women, testosterone is very, very important. It keeps you alive. Okay, I don't want to talk about too much like that, but testosterone, it's go and Google it, man. You've got ChatGPT, so go and type in there testosterone. I don't know how to spell it, but just say it, and then ChatGPT will tell you all about it. Then you've got other hormones, all right. Women, when they get a bit older, as my wife is going through now, she's experiencing, a thing called perimenopause, and where the hormones fluctuate. So she has a hormone called estrogen, and it goes down, and so does the progesterone go down, and then there's cortisol that goes up, and it's a whole mix-up. Okay, but then we have another drug, another hormone, and it's called dopamine. Now, guys, at the beginning of this challenge, we spoke a lot about dopamine, all right? And maybe you didn't kind of connect the dots and sort of really click on what dopamine is. Guys, remember that video we saw about that on that program they took in Australia about that young guy? I forget what his name is. What was his name? The chap he had two brothers, went to school every day. They were normal, but he was totally abnormal. Why? Because he got so addicted on gaming. He'd lie really like a fat slob, and I'm going to say it. For me, that's what it is. Like he was a little fat slob lying in his bed, totally undisciplined, watching, gaming, couldn't even have the respect to stop gaming and talk to the interviewer. But he just continuously, all right, played. What does that tell me? It tells me that he's not controlling the game was controlling him. But the chemical that was completely out of balance in that young man's life was dopamine, all right? He eventually got, now guys, dopamine, when you play games, okay, then dopamine is released. The dopamine is released in your body. And there's nothing wrong with it. We all need dopamine. Dopamine is a satisfactory, gives us a feeling of satisfaction, of attainment, of achievement, or whatever else it does, okay? So it's a good thing. But like the saying goes, anything that is too much is a bad thing, all right? So in his particular case, the dopamine just took over completely. Now guys, if you're a gamer and you are playing every single day, and I don't want to repeat myself what I said in previous challenges, but I need to say this. If you're a gamer and you're playing every single day for about 4 or 5 hours, then you are already addicted to gaming without realizing it. But worse than that, guys, you don't realize that you've actually developed a dopamine imbalance, total imbalance of dopamine. All right. Now that is going to be devastating to you. You may not think that you like that little guy that I called a fat slob, and forgive me, maybe I shouldn't have said that. All right, but that was the picture that that was the word that came to my head when I saw that guy lying on the bed, and he just didn't have the respect to even stop playing while he was being interviewed by this news lady. I mean, come on, it's just like, okay, seriously, that doesn't work for me. Okay, but that showed me just how out of control that young man was, and he's just one. Guys, there are millions of people around the world that are battling with the same problem, but we just don't see the millions. We see the one, okay, that represents those maybe millions. Now, guys, so without me sounding like I want to give you a lecture, but I'm trying to get to the point here, and I'm finding it difficult to get to the point because the point's going to be very difficult for me to introduce. But we need to do this challenge. You need to do this challenge. You need to tackle this challenge head on, because this is, as I said in the beginning, this is where the men are separated from the boys. This is where those of you that are truly serious about wanting to change your entire life, and those of you that really couldn't really care much to do that, or you're not sure you want to do that, this is where you get separated. So from this point onward, I really doubt if the same people that have been watching the videos up to now are going to continue in the series. I think this is where a lot of people are going to fall off the bus. But for those of you who have got the conviction, the guts, the courage to say, hey, I love a challenge, bring it on. Well, here it is, okay? It is in the form of a video. And I'm not going to tell you what the video is. The video will explain itself, and then I'm going to close the challenge. But it goes about one thing, guys. And let me put it to you in the form of a question. How would you like to have a complete reset when it comes to your dopamine? Because, guys, you need dopamine. You need it in a healthy way for everyday life. Because dopamine will make you want to, it'll change your life. If you've got a healthy level of dopamine, you'll begin to see things differently. You'll begin to enjoy life differently. You'll begin to enjoy the things that you used to enjoy, that you aren't enjoying anymore. You will begin to look at them in a different way, and you will look at them completely like, let me put it this way, it'll restore to you in your body what needs to be restored. So are you ready for this challenge? Guys, here comes the challenge, and I'll warn you, it's not easy. It's going to be tough. And I want you to do me a favor. If you've watched this video that's going to come now, I'm going to let you watch another video quickly. If you've watched that video and you've gone through that challenge, I want to ask you and invite you to come and put comments down on the comment section on any one of the videos, really. All right, just put a comment section down and then tell me if you've done the challenge and what it's done for you. So are you ready? Here it is.
If in the next 1 minute of this video, you click off, scroll to the comments, or get distracted without giving your full attention to the story I'm about to tell you, you might have a problem with a specific area of your brain. Now, don't be alarmed, as the majority of people have this problem nowadays, and I will tell you what it is in just a moment. But if you actually watch this video until the very end, you will take that first step towards recovering from this issue, so listen carefully. It's early summer in the 90s. School finished early, and George is in his room playing his favorite Nintendo game. He's excited about summer as he will have more time to hang out with his friends, spend time in nature, and of course, play more video games. That's what George thought about gaming. It's just a way to kill some time when you don't have other stuff going on. But what George didn't know back then, however, is how much gaming will change in just a few decades. Fast forward to current times. Gaming is not simple shapes on the screen that require you to use your imagination anymore. It's more than a $200 billion industry that just keeps on growing. In fact, the gaming industry is now bigger than the film and music industries combined. Gaming is more popular than ever, but it's not about just playing video games as much as video games are playing you. The problem that I talked about in the beginning is the area of your brain responsible for your focus and attention. That's why the gaming industry is booming. Video game companies don't compete for just who makes a better game, they compete for who gets and keeps your attention the longest, and then who monetizes it the best. Gaming teams are full of behavioral psychologists, studying human behavior and optimizing their products for their own gain. It reminds us of a time in the 60s when Big Tobacco testified that cigarettes were not addictive, while at the very same time attempting to maximize the amount of nicotine in cigarettes. For Big Tobacco, it was nicotine. For big gaming, it's dopamine. Dopamine is the primary neurotransmitter in our brain responsible for motivation, pursuit, and desire. It's a non-infinite yet renewable resource that is released not only when you take part in a pleasurable activity, but to motivate you towards that pleasurable activity itself. So when you play a video game, for example, and you are completing missions and leveling up, you are constantly being hit with dopamine to keep going and keep achieving. That's why at first video games are so fun. All the stimulation in the game provides you with an almost high-like feeling of positive emotions. Because dopamine is the way your brain's reward circuitry communicates, things that provide you with a lot of dopamine become reinforced behaviors. This is also why gaming can turn into a serious problem. After some time, dopamine receptors in the brain become used to receiving high amounts of dopamine, and less stimulating things like cleaning your room, working on a job, or doing your homework become less desired. They are too boring for your brain. Just think about it. Why would the brain want to complete less stimulating things in real life when it can achieve a higher short-term satisfaction from leveling up in a video game? And that video game is always available, easily accessible, and convenient in your pocket. In addiction, this is called tolerance. Your brain has adapted to a higher, more consistent release of dopamine from gaming, and you now struggle to receive enough dopamine necessary to motivate you towards less pleasurable activities. To compound the problem, instead of seeing it as an issue that is occurring because of excessive gaming, you rationalize it as gaming is fun and everything else is just boring. Now, if you find yourself in this situation, stay tuned until the end of the video because I will share with you how to reverse this issue with your brain so you can actually find other things fun again and improve your motivation. Another issue that gaming causes with your brain is within your pain-pleasure response. You see, our brains operate on two drives. One is to avoid pain and the other is to gain pleasure. Video games provide an instant solution to both. When you're laying on the couch or sitting in your chair gaming, you don't feel physical pain. You are comfortable and physically relaxed. Psychologically, you are also able to disconnect from life's problems and stresses. Your brain tells you when you play video games, you experience a lot of pleasure and avoid pain. As your brain becomes more tolerant to the level of stimulation in games, doing other activities that you find boring feels painful. So gaming is fun and exciting, and life outside gaming is painful. So let's play more video games. As you spend more time playing video games, more and more of your lifestyle and identity revolves around gaming. It becomes the only source of friendships, self-esteem, and meaning in your life, so you continue to rationalize playing more. I don't want to belabor this point, but I hope you are beginning to see how gaming in excess and being too much fun can lead to cognitive distortions and lifestyle changes that compound into larger issues. Earlier, we talked about how gaming is a non-infinite yet renewable resource responsible for motivation, pursuit, and drive. So what you need to do to return to your baseline dopamine levels, which will allow you to feel motivation and drive for other activities, is to wait and try not to trigger more dopamine during that time. How long will you need to wait? It depends on how sensitive your brain is to gaming and its dopamine release, but often it will take at least a few hours or days or even weeks at the extreme end. Gaming, mindless social media, porn consumption, and always checking your phone. All of these things never allow your brain to rest and actually work towards motivating you to achieve great things in life and develop long-term meaning. So if you're not playing video games and you're just scrolling 7-second TikTok videos, blasting your brain with more trash dopamine, don't expect to find motivation you need to actually study for a test or go to the gym. Luckily, there is a way to reboot your brain to its natural state, and we will share that in a second. But first, how many of these signs do you see in yourself? Does your life have a constant stream of dopamine? Do you have a compulsive behavior towards activities like gaming, social media, and porn, yet don't even really enjoy them, but simply feel compelled towards them? Do you notice normal activities that seem pleasurable to other people aren't pleasurable to you? Do you feel this internal struggle with what you should be doing and what you actually end up doing, as if you have no willpower? Now, this isn't medical advice and I'm not a clinician, but if you answered yes to these questions, you may benefit from a reset, which is commonly called a dopamine detox. Taking a break from gaming and other high dopamine activities allows your brain to reset back to normal, natural dopamine baseline levels and reverse other structural changes to your brain. As a general rule of thumb, take a break for 30 to 90 days for the most benefit. You don't have to stop gaming forever, but taking a break for a couple weeks can provide our brains an opportunity to restore back to normal, healthy levels of dopamine again. Whether you find gaming a huge problem for you or just a hobby that you want to keep in check, taking a break for a couple weeks will help you be able to be more motivated, more productive, and enjoy other things that may have seemed boring before. You may not need or want to quit forever, and that's okay. 30 days without gaming will give you the mental clarity and perspective to see what is hard to see when you are stuck inside the gaming world. You'll gain motivation to decide what you want to do, or maybe try for healthy levels of gaming, or if you want to stop for good. Ultimately, that choice is yours. During your dopamine detox, it's not about focusing on no dopamine. That's simply not possible. The goal is to reset the amount of dopamine your receptors can take in a healthy way. It's about being able to let your mind rest from hyper-stimulating activities and instead to be happy with more natural things like exercising, spending time with friends, reading, playing with pets, and eating healthy, high-protein food. When you spend time in silence or doing deep, meaningful work or enjoying the smaller things in life, after a while, you reset your dopamine receptors and they can again be stimulated from accepting smaller amounts of dopamine. You'll no longer find studying or spending time with loved ones boring, especially in comparison to gaming. In fact, after 30 days, you will be blown away at how much your life can change and how much better you can feel. It will almost feel like your brain is no longer broken and controlled by gaming, porn, or social media. All of this is only possible if you take part in the dopamine reset, and that's why I want to present a challenge to you here today. Take the 30-day no gaming detox. 30 days, no gaming. This is an opportunity to break free from gaming controlling your life so you can instead build a healthier version of yourself. Imagine how much more confident, social, and productive you can be. If you accept this challenge, join us on Discord, the link's in the description, and post in the detox channel. Myself and others will be in there to support you on your journey. Now, in order to be successful, you'll need to defeat the final boss, boredom. So if you accept this challenge, watch this video for an exact step-by-step guide to avoid boredom and stop gaming for 30 days to regain control over your life. I'll see you there.